So, Doctor, I think, a lot of people might be surprised to learn that one of the areas where we're actually seeing artificial intelligence, pretty well entrenched, doing things, having an impact is on the farm, right? In agriculture.
I would say a lot more than people actually realize the implementation and usage of artificial intelligence in the farms. AI is already making everyday decisions on the farms. For example, in the dairy barn, they are able to spot sick cows, sick animals. Sometimes they also say what side of the body the cow is lying down. Is it right side of the body or left side of the body? How long they are making steps? What is the quality of the milk that's being produced in relation to the health conditions regarding the physiology, welfare, decision-making capacity for the farmers? If you look at the poultry industry, chickens and laying hen industry, there are a few decision tools that are enabled by artificial intelligence that helps to adjust the air quality in the barns, controlling the feeding systems for the birds and other animals. These are not just simply experiments. They run all day, every day, and farmers rely on them.
And what does that do to the agriculture industry? Because it creates some vulnerabilities, because like you say, these things run constantly and they sort of start to dictate how things operate, right?
Yeah. So, most of our artificial intelligence rules, policies, and regulations here in Canada assume that we are in a city. We have good access to internet connection, stable power supply, staff around, someone to call if something breaks. But in reality, when artificial intelligence leaves the cities and shows up on farms and barns, those assumptions does not hold anymore. So our Canadian AI policy hasn't really caught up to that reality.
Because, when we, and this was the interesting piece when I was reading your article, we talk about AI all the time. We really focus it on this show, but it's almost always related to industry and to urban centers. Like, we don't talk about it in rural areas and certainly in agriculture as much as we should, I think.
Yes. So I would probably say, our government is a little bit behind. Agriculture is not behind on AI. It's not lagging at all. Farmers have adopted artificial intelligence very quickly because it solves practical, real problems. The issue is that our AI policies were designed for offices and institutions, not for practical barns and fields. So in cities, when artificial intelligence fails, it's usually obvious and very loud. On farms, if it fails, sometimes and most of the time, it is very slow and quiet. The system, which is built based on artificial intelligence, can give slightly wrong advice in the farm day after day, and that slowly becomes a normal practice. Nobody sounds an alarm, but behavior changes. So that's a problematic area. So if something goes wrong because of artificial intelligence in farms and fields, who becomes responsible here? So that's the gray area. Most of the time, oversight comes from vendor contracts, not public rules, because we purchase different hardware systems, softwares, and decision support tools from outside Canada.
Yeah.
Farmers end up carrying the risk, even though the technology itself is making the key decisions. So the contracts, basically, when we look at the contracts, these contracts are written to protect the private companies, not based on the public interest. So when we look at the systems that influence the governments, governments basically care very much about a variety of public good and public interest. For example, animal welfare, food safety, environmental outcomes. But the contract does not care or even talk about it. They are primarily geared and written based on how they go about protecting the industries and companies. So that's the gap currently we have.
And we hear the government talking all the time about artificial intelligence and making Canada a leader and a superpower and being at the forefront of this, but we don't hear them talking about this component. Can you do that? Can we incorporate this into part of whatever our national AI strategy is, or do we need to form a rural plan separate to itself? Can this be done? How should we do this?
Oh, nothing really radical. I would probably say set basic standards for artificial intelligence used in the food production. Make sure the funding programs does not force the farmers into risky tech adoption. Actually learn from real world failures instead of pretending that they don't happen at all. So, because already artificial intelligence is being currently used, if Canada wants to lead on responsible AI, we need to govern where AI is actually being used, not just where policy conversations are very easiest.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Yeah, absolutely. If it's already in place and it's already having these kind of impacts. The question I always ask, Doctor, about this kind of technology, it's already in place. It's already being used. It's already having an impact. Can you regulate or govern after the fact? I mean, how would you even do that? It seems like, once you start, it's really, really hard to change things once they're already in motion.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Decisions about data, transparency, and acceptable risk often come from global market standards, not based on Canadian policy. So, indeed, governments usually react after those systems are already in place. So before for example, if I import certain veterinary medicine or a fertilizer or a different kind of drug for animal care, it has to go through certain scrutiny and regulatory protocols and policies set by the Government of Canada. We very much regulate them, but the artificial intelligence systems shaping those same decisions, considering the animal agriculture and crop agriculture, mostly sit outside the regulation.
Yeah.
So that's not really intentional deregulation. It's more like we forgot to regulate them at all.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Doctor, a really interesting angle to AI that I hadn't thought of, so I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Everybody, I have an announcement.
Your favorite family in law
It's Lawyering 101.
is back.
This is going to be fun.
Controversial cases,
So you're dating a doll.
Hello, nice to meet you.
complicated relationships,
We broke up.
What did you do?
What did I do?
You have a very aggressive personality.
and courtroom chaos.
She took my baby!
Family Law. All new Thursdays at 9 Eastern on Global. Stream on Stack TV.